afternoon, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Ladies Wot Pod. I'm Claire Jones, sitting in Cambridgeshire. And who are you?
And I'm Liz Saunders. I'm Liz Saunders, sitting in the tropical south of Northamptonshire. Positively balmy.
Wow.
We haven't had any snow. Mystified.
No, we aren't
Stansted
here,
had
actually.
snow.
It's just dark.
Birmingham and East Midlands had snow, but somehow tropical south Northants just had very cold rain. It's really not impressed. Not impressed. So, Anyway,
shall we lead with what a wonderful weekend of rugby? And let's start off with actually the best result, the women. Loughborough Lightning stuffing a tiger. The first East Midlands derby held at the Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, or whatever it's called now. And what a wonderful, wonderful win for Rachel Malcolm and her team. So, congratulations, ladies. Fantastic result in awful conditions.
Played in horrific conditions. Thank God Welford Road, Pooh Corner have got their pitch sorted out. As if they tried to have played that a few seasons ago, they would have had
they'd have drowned
to their oxters in mud, wouldn't they? So cracking result.
So great result. But real power shown. Yeah. It was a power game when they went with 3 tries in the first half and 1 in the second to seal the bonus point. And fair dues to Leicester coming back. They rallied.
Yes.
But to secure all 5 points, great performance. Great performance from the Loughborough women. So well done.
I just feel that has helped Lightning be, say, one step further into the Saints family now. I just think it's all part of the coming together, isn't it, of Lightning and Saints, and just that an East Midlands derby would have done it anyway, but to go and stuff a tiger at Pooh Corner is just really meant you feel that
brilliant.
You really feel they got it as well. Looking at the interviews afterwards, you really feel the women were as much invested in it being against tigers as the men. So it was brilliant. Super smashing.
Absolutely. So well done, Rachel Malcolm, a wonderful woman, of course, Scottish captain as well, and Scotland won their WXV regional event. They were in the second tier and they won that. So Rachel's had a good few weeks with her teams. So fabulous stuff. And they're back at the Gardens this Saturday. WXV. Yes, it does. It does, yes. They're back at the Gardens this weekend, where some of us will be trying to get back from Glasgow, but more of that shortly. So unfortunately, I'm not going to make it, particularly as they've moved the kickoff to 2:00. We'd stood a chance at 3. I did think we'll stand a chance at 2. So I'm really disappointed to miss that because I really enjoy Loughborough games at the Gardens. So, but well done.
Yes, yeah.
And on to continue the victorious weekend, the Stone X.
Yes. Yeah. Happy hunting ground, really, for us. We're the team that's won their most as an away team.
Yep.
They've only lost 13 times at the Stone X, and 5 of them have been to us. It's pretty impressive.
And that was up until Saturday, so it doesn't. I don't think it includes Saturday, so it's 14 times they've lost.
I think that doesn't.
Oh, that was after. I wasn't clear about that. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, no, but either way,
it was.
Yes.
Either way,
that was the stat. Yeah. Either way, it's an amazing stat. It was the stat I shared with the team in the changing room. Not the players, the coaches and S&C guys, and they all looked at me and went, "Really?" I went, "Yep." Lizzie Goodchild, who's the team manager, said it's the first time she's won ever at the Stone X, which, given she's visited several times with Harlequins men, Harlequins women, and and twice now with Saints, she was absolutely made up, which is why both of us embraced at the end of the game. Actually, the person who won the award for the first hug after the game was Kira Ruddy, who just came bounding up to me and hugged me. It was one of those moments where everybody was hugging everybody. So,
Yes.
it was...
Yeah.
Anyway. But before we get on to afterwards, the game itself.
The game itself, it was a joy to watch. The D is getting a bigger capital letter every week, isn't it? The big D is now even bigger than it was before. The D was absolutely phenomenal. Because I was obviously sort of watching it on the telly, in and out, because. But they were all saying about the defence was just amazing. That and Vince, every time I said something about like our defence is really rock solid, Brian O'Driscoll said it shortly afterwards. I was really thinking it got me bugged somehow. And I was talking about Finn Smith, and then Brian O'Driscoll comes in with what? And I said to my dear husband, who has to listen to me being referee and commentator at the same time, and I said something about Finn Smith. I said, not only is he talented, he's also fearless. Stone me if Brian O'Driscoll didn't say almost exactly the same thing 2 seconds later. I was like, oh no, Brian, get your own thoughts. You don't mind. Yes. However, I'm not going to let that put a blot on the day. It was a marvellous day.
It was a great day. It was a great day. And actually, we've had one piece of feedback that we've had from my daughter Becca is we have to pick Lis and Claire's man of the match or player of the match, because are we going to go with Courtney or are we going to pick somebody else? It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the performances, absolutely Finn is fearless. The other person who's absolutely fearless is Fraser Dingwall, who just seems to like hitting things for fun and does it remarkably well. His defence on Saturday, he's just awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Tommy Freeman's boots clearly have a sort of edge to them because however he tried to kick the ball, it went off at random angles. But he had another size sound game at centre.
He did. I love him at centre. Oh, that was the other thing I said. Because I said about, having Tommy Freeman at centre. I said it's like when they played George North at centre. I think it really works because he's fast and he's got this presence and it just seems to... Well, again, 5 seconds later, he reminds me of George North. What is happening? What is happening? It either means I'm Brian O'Driscoll or he's me. Either way, no, it doesn't work. Yes, very scary. Anyway, but I always like George North playing at centre, and Tommy Freeman, you feel, is the same. He's just must be fairly terrifying for somebody to have Tommy Freeman running at you. We thought Esther Hazen was a large block of something running at you, but Tommy Freeman's the same mould, really, and probably with better
absolutely. Feet. Except when they're kicking, the boots clearly had a sort of, Himalaya in the middle of them because the ball was going off at all sorts of weird angles.
I wonder if the cold weather must surely affect the way the ball reacts. Cold weather, humidity, I'm sure where it goes. That's
Tommy's boots and that ball and they're all cold.
Yeah.
The other person who, born again hard, George Fairbank, another hug after the game. And I said, George, immense. And he went, second weekend running. And absolutely, he didn't quite say it like that because he's a bit posher than that. But anyway, George had an awesome game at fullback. He was absolutely secure.
Yeah.
It was his, he created something out of nothing when we scored. Brilliant. Just utterly brilliant.
And when you saw his nervy start up at Pooh Corner, it was wonderful to see him back at fullback and playing with confidence again and never in doubt really. I think since he had his hair
never in doubt,
lost the sort of floppy squadron leader fringe since it's become harder. It's my theory. Yeah.
Yes. I think the tackling technique has got a lot harder. our new Fijian, Tamo M, I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce it because I haven't had, practiced yet. He just came on and slipped in, no problem at all. It's like, him and Angus Scott Young. It's easy, this game.
I know. Yeah. With the whole beating Saracens thing as well, he just seemed to. So the nice thing about beating Saracens is, it's one game where probably 98% of the rest of the Premiership are behind you with it. So it's
yeah. Everyone's willing you on. There are very few people who are saying, "Oh no, please don't." And even, I even saw people thanking the Saints on X, formerly known as Twitter, because it meant Bath stayed up the top. But there were some strange results over the weekend. I mean, to finish the Saracens event, it's 4 points in the bag. It's it's another, as you say, another superb defensive performance, but also creative performance. The players are happy to try stuff out. Fraser kicking the ball beautifully to Ollie Slightholme.
That was
just,
Yeah. And Mitch turning Alex Good inside out was just joyous.
What way? That way?
Which way?
Yes, the look on Alex Good's face when he crossed across the line said it all. He'd done him like a kipper.
I was going to say, and in the interview afterwards, hats off to Mark McCall. He did say how good Saints were. He was not mealy-mouthed at all, and just said, we just couldn't get past them. The defence was amazing, which I don't think they expected. So, but he was
which
I don't think he always has been. So,
he can be a bit ungracious, but you can't accuse him of that on Saturday. I think he was frustrated with his team, and for all they were saying, there were a lot of people missing. Well, there were, but there were a lot of people there. Maritoji was there, Billy Vanapola was there. Maku comes on in the second half and starts trying to natter to the referee. Christoph Ridley, looked at him and
Jamie
shrugged his shoulders and wandered off.
Jamie
George came on. They threw the big guns on. Teo McFarlane, who is supposedly the greatest thing since sliced bread. Well, he had a very quiet game, and that was down to us.
He did.
Basically wrapping him up and not letting him, rampage around the place. So, some things went their way, some things went our way, but in the end, it was really an accomplished performance from the team. So, well done to everybody.
And hats off to Christoph Ridley as well. I thought, again, another good reffing display. I think he was. It can't be an easy place to go and ref with Vunipolas and Itoji's. They do tend to whinge on a lot. So I thought Christoph again refed it well. And in view of other things that have happened this week, I think we need to give praise to refs where it's due.
Absolutely we do, and he did his best to keep everybody on the pitch, which is also, we can have 15 against 15 wherever we can. That's a good thing. I would say I had a terrible day at the office. I decided to start flicking switches that I didn't need to, so one of my cameras just rightly said, well, you've told me that's how you want me to behave, and so it misbehaved. So I ended up swapping stuff around, and when you're distracted that way, it's hard to concentrate. So can't say it was my best day in the office. Did work out what I did in the end at half time, thanks to Dr. Jones going, did you move a switch? And I thought, yeah, could have done. And I had.
You see, you didn't have that trouble with Instamatic, did you?
No, point and shoot. It was so much easier. Sadly, what you get as a result, particularly when you got it back from the the people that process them, were sort of weird colour balanced or photo print or whatever they were called. Yes, true print. Yes, £1.49, and you knew it. Yes, yes, those are the days. Fortunately, I did manage to get Ollie's try. I also got a wonderful steal from Alex Coles off the said Maritoji. He was wearing the weirdest boots. Did you notice? tan boots. I don't think I've ever seen
Uh,
tan boots before. They look very odd. Anyway,
oh,
so,
no.
but we still haven't met the
Remember.
brief of Miss Jones, which is player of the match. Who are we going with?
Sam Graham.
Tough, isn't it? Tough.
He played out with Skinners. No, I think no. I'm going back to Dingers or Curbs or Finn.
Miss Jones, you've set us the
Yeah.
impossible task.
I don't. No, because it's not fair. We're not like the commentators on the telly who they don't care. It's like being asked to choose between your favourite pet or child. It's
So I'm
wrong.
going to go with this. I'm going to go with the skipper. I'm going to go with George Furbank. He set the tone, and his team followed him.
Did.
You know, he was assured under some pretty heavy barrage from Good, from Vinipola. You know, he set the tone, and he ran the ball back. Our kicking put them under enormous pressure. So, and you know, he made he made the breaks that made the difference. You know, so a lot of being a skipper is about setting the tone, and George absolutely did that for me. So I would, if it were me, I'd be hanging over. It's the silver gong to George. Much as I love Mr. Laws, and yeah, he did. He was outstanding, but I think George set the tone. George set the tone. So
well, also because Courtney got the very public one, I think we ought to exclude whoever got, unless it's somebody that you can't ignore. But yeah, you've persuaded me, George. Yes, I think. Yeah.
There you go.
Because as I say, and as skipper, we know how important that is, and he really did a superb job of keeping everybody focused for 80 minutes. There's another 80-minute performance, which is, let's face it, not something
another 80, and it had to be.
A lot of in the past few seasons.
Yeah, it had to be. That's that's the key thing. So, Bedford, on the other hand, oh dear. So that was a very sad, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be. For those of you who don't know, two coaches of Bedford supporters, fair dues for putting on two coaches, headed up to Caldy, which I think is near Liverpool, and frozen pitch in the northwest somewhere. So it was a frozen pitch. It's going to some championship committee to be discussed, but a lot of very disappointed people and frustrated people. We had a number of Saints players who were up there. I think there were 5 or 6 in the squad. So I can imagine they're pretty frustrated too, sitting on a coach all the way up the M6, along with all the other Bedford lads. So a bit disappointing really, but hopefully they're back at Goldington Road this weekend, and I can't even remember who they're playing, which is appalling. But hopefully they'll get a game in.
Well, let's say Toaster Minis were also called off. They when the forecast was looking at it would only get to about 2 degrees Sunday morning, they took the wise decision of, rather than putting a whole generation of small children off rugby for life by making them play on frozen pitches in the freezing fog, they cancelled it. So that was, and given that the weather was possibly even worse because it was very cold rain on Sunday morning, I think it was, certainly from the parents' point of view, a marvellous decision. But, yeah. So upwards and onwards next week.
Standing in the deluge is not great. No.
Yeah, but thinking of travelling to places and there being no rugby, next weekend must be the anniversary of the famous trip to Romania, where we all had a fantastic time and saw James Grayson try and kick the ball off, but it just disappeared into the snow, if you recall. That was just...
And we also saw Joy Neville visit all 4 corners of the ground as the prisoners from a local prison attempted to clear the pitch. I did like her thoroughness assessing whether a game of rugby was possible.
Yeah.
What, about 6 inches?
Watching those prisoners clear the ground so slowly, because course, once they got their job done, they had to go back inside. So
Exactly. So one of the things that we'll still talk about for years, the match that never was,
yes.
but then the drinking games that started thereafter. Yeah. Didn't the players end up pushing the aircraft at one stage? And all that happened was somebody towed it back into a snowdrift. Not great. Not great.
Yes.
The planned escape from the airport,
well, the
I seem to recall.
got delayed, didn't they? They sat on the plane for 8 hours and got back to the hotel shortly after the rest of us had finally gone to bed, somewhat merry, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, which was probably good timing because that would have, honestly, I've been sitting on a plane for 8 hours and got back to find people who've been in the warm and drinking for that 8 hours. I wouldn't have been happy. So that was, yes. And then, it was touch and go. I managed to escape from Timoswara and get home on the Sunday, but other people had to stay till the Monday. So it was interesting times.
I remember there were 4 of us who escaped on the same flight to Munich, I seem to remember. And then we somehow managed to get home. Yes, those were days, eh?
Happy days.
Yes, very odd.
Anyway,
very odd.
So
happy days. Anyway, yes. So continuing our report from the weekend, other rugby was the wheelchair rugby team were competing in the Midland Development League. Congratulations to everybody involved. They played 3 matches. They won 1 and they narrowly lost 2, including to the Tigers. We won't talk about that. Actually, they played really well. But as Coach Jamie Higgins said, and more of Jamie in a moment, for many of them, it was their first experience of playing competitive rugby because that's what the Midland Development League's all about. I really had a blast with the cameras. Love taking photographs of the guys. They compete really, really well, and they'll have learned absolutely loads from competing with their colleagues and competing against some pretty stiff opposition. So, and thank you to everybody. I'm saying thank you. Everybody who came to watch, which was lovely to see. People who hadn't seen the sport at all experienced it for the first time. So it was lovely to see some Saints fans supporting the team because I know they appreciate it. But it was really, really good, and it's a lovely venue. It's easy to get to, so keep your eyes peeled, everybody, because if you get a chance, it really is a sport that when you've seen it once, you'll be hooked, as I am. So well done to everybody concerned.
Big shout out to my friend Phil Guttridge, who scored, I think, his first try in the wheelchair rugby, but he was quite proud of himself.
No, it wasn't his first try. I'm not having any of that. All this sort of, going at me. Yeah, he did it again in the Tigers game.
Anyway.
I have to say he's in the doghouse anyway because he asked me, did you get it? Did I get it? For goodness sake. Of course I blessed got the photo.
He is somewhat of a media tart. I don't think you mind me saying.
Complete tart. Yeah, he's a complete tart. And we will be hopefully talking to Phil about his we'll be talking to him. He's very keen to come and have a chat with us about his rugby. He's a lovely guy, and his little dog was there yesterday. He's got this wonderful little Dachshund who sits on his lap. Doesn't participate in the games. So hopefully the Dachshund, I don't know the Dachshund's name, but hopefully. Yeah, well, I don't. Yes, but was there yesterday. So hopefully the Dachshund will come on the pod and spill the beans about Phil.
Brilliant. Well played.
So, but there's been a lot going on in the world of rugby, hasn't there? And I'm going to hold the and Walking Rugby. We'll talk about that in a moment because, you can prepare yourself because I will be doing an in-depth interview about what occurred because I hear it got a bit feisty. We'll talk about that shortly. And there was accusations of trotting. Not walking, but trotting.
No,
I'm not going to talk about that. We'll do it in a minute. Prepare yourself.
Right, moving on.
Mrs. Saunders.
Okay, I'll prepare myself.
Moving on. Right, Ethan Grayson The Graysons are travelling again. So Ethan is off to
Taking
San
over the
Diego
world.
Legion. Yeah, taking over the world. And James made his debut in Japan for the Dino Boars. What a great name for a team. And won. But Ethan's off to San Diego Legion. There is a Will Hooley connection there because, of course, Will played for both Bedford Blues and San Diego Legion. He retired from the Legion earlier this year, so I get the feeling that there was a Hooley hand going on there, and he sort of intimated as much on X, formerly known as Twitter. So I wish Ethan well. I'm going to be very sad that he's not hurtling towards me. Because his facials are fantastic, and he's a great player. So a sad loss to English rugby, but well done to him because he's going to see a bit of the world, and even if California is a bit weird, but there you go. And hopefully play some great rugby. I'm hoping to go to a game in the summer when I go to the US.
Oh.
Dr. Jones doesn't know this yet. Yeah, not to take photos, just to sit in the stands and watch.
Just to sit and be there's no reason why he couldn't come back, if he's getting competitive rugby, learning his trade out there, and come back hopefully when things might have financially stabilised a bit over here. Yeah. Remind me, what was the profit that the RFU declared this week? Was it 6 million or something?
£1 million, wasn't it? Yeah, £1 million, which given the turnover is, very strange. All very strange. And I don't know if you've seen Alex Codling's interview after the Tigers game yesterday. Newcastle Falcons apparently, according to Mark Smith, are going to make an announcement about their funding because they're getting a bit fed up of people talking about, their funding and their budgets and how they're managing things. So Mark Smith put an announcement saying, we are going to talk about this because we are concerned about how people are talking about it. I suppose what they're worried about is the self-fulfilling prophecy. If people predict your demise, unsurprisingly, sometimes your demise happens. So, and it must be very tough. We had that awful run in 2020, and it must be very tough when you're at the bottom of the league. You haven't won everything. You've got 2 points in the bag, and you haven't got that international break where you might be able to get a few points from a few teams that are missing a few internationals. If they were going to do that, they had to do it at the start of the season, and it didn't happen. So, I wish Falcons well. They're a lovely club with that open stand that makes my blood run cold. But we need rugby in the north.
And it's still like a proper club as well. I love that ground. I love the fact you walk through that clubhouse. So, and I just really love it. Yeah, I've had nice times there.
I mean, and I love the fact they still have events. Like the other week, they had an event where it was the players' table tennis tournament, and they had supporters watching the lads play table tennis. Now that is just proper entertainment. So it's inspired, absolutely. So, and held in the bar, and excellent. Well done them. So we absolutely need rugby in the north, and it must be soul destroying for a very young team to be going through what they're going through. So we wish them well. We wish them well. And then we've had a couple of really sad. I think really sad for the sport. The sport needs to think about itself. We had Owen Farrell stepping down for a bit as England captain. He won't be playing in the Six Nations. And this afternoon we learnt that Tom Foley is stepping down as an international referee. And you just wonder that, it's one thing to have a moan and a gripe after a game, but when, rugby likes to think it's a community sport with standards, and actually we kind of need to take a bit of a moment's check and say, are we really? Are we absolutely really? When you've got two, respected individuals who, for whatever they've done in the past and whatever people think, they don't deserve some of the abuse, and it is abuse, that they have received.
It is.
Um,
I'm not Owen Farrell's biggest fan by any means, but for him to have to take go to those lengths is awful. Nobody should have their career impacted like that. And likewise, I mean, Tom Foley, we've seen him have some good games, we've seen some bad games, and you might, for 80 minutes, chunter amongst yourselves in the stands about, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. But you then don't go and criticise his whole family and lineage afterwards, do you? It's just, it stops at the final whistle.
No, or threaten. Yeah.
Threatening. Well, I did suggest Christoph Ridley should have a food taster, I think, once, but that.
Well, that's when he sent 4 players off, which I think was a record.
That was
He bravely did it, though.
In about 3 minutes.
Bristol Bears, I seem to remember. Yes. It's like when another one walked past, it was like, what? Yeah. So, but everybody, there's one thing about how I actually remember asking somebody, is there a point where you have to call the game off because you've actually got too few players for it safely to continue? But, there's one thing to ask questions, and there's one thing to, but...
Is there a point where if you've sent so many players off?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in the old comments, somebody tell us, because Liz, in the comments, can somebody tell us? Because I'm sure we should know, but we don't. But anyway, it's a sad day, and one of the things we talk about, and supporters, wax lyrical about players having a beer in the bar after the game. A lot of players, and Owen was there on Saturday, so he very quietly, he tried to come out quietly, but Craig, what's his face from TNT Sports, was determined to try and engage him, and he wasn't going to be engaged because he just wanted to talk to the supporters who were around the ground. And his son was just hilarious. I mean, fortunately, the cameras did not show anything of Owen's son, who was wearing the most fantastic hat. He had a bobble hat on that had nothing to do with Saracens. I've got no idea what it was, but it was brightly coloured. And we all stood there watching him play the role of bored toddler. Dad. So he just took to running up and down randomly. Yeah. But Owen quietly signed autographs, talked to people, had selfies, and was out there for some time. And I think also went back out after the game. There was no song and dance. And you just think, fair dues, you could have stayed at home in the warm. But you were there and you were talking to people. And so we all, Phil de Glanville, it's still a mystery to me how he was England captain. But I'd never abuse Phil. And I'd never abuse any player, much as I might want to, grit my teeth at the end of the game, because, they're human beings and they've got feelings and they've got family. And please don't play but they're professional sportsmen, they should be able to take it. No, they shouldn't. They're professional sportsmen who are paid to chuck a rugby ball around, not to put up with some oik threatening them. That's not what they get paid to do. And players today, I would say, give an awful lot of their time after the game. Yeah. There is a thing, and one thing perhaps people could help themselves. Sometimes I have to explain to the little boys before the game, if a player doesn't engage with them, it's not because they don't want to talk to them. It's because they're at work. After the game, they'll happily engage. But some players are in the zone. They're trying to get themselves up for... Basically, they're going to get smashed to bits for, the best part of 2 hours. So I do sometimes, there's little kids looking a bit disappointed. You say, it's not that they don't want to talk to you. They're at work at the minute. You come back after the game and they'll be completely different. And then they'll, happily talk to you. And I think actually these days, there was an era when players literally used to sprint out the ground. There were one or two noticeable, Carlos Spencer, he was... I think it must have been seconds from the end of the whistle before he was in his car and dashing up the road. Yeah. Whereas these days, the lads spend a lot of time talking to people and enjoy doing it. They enjoy meeting people. And I think sometimes we do expect an awful lot of them, and to abuse them is just out of order, just well out of order, whatever they've
And,
done.
and I was going to say they're still young men, aren't they? I mean, Farrell's. I mean, he's been around forever, but he's still only in his early 30s, and young
Yeah,
men as a class of people are the most prone to suicidal tendencies. But it's the biggest killer of young men under 40, isn't it? Suicide. So
yeah,
they are bizarrely some of the most vulnerable grown-ups. Strangely, it's a strange thing to think about. You know, out of
yeah.
I say the most vulnerable, out of the sphere of the vulnerable, they're 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 still coming to terms with just being a grown. Well, I don't think some men do ever come to terms with being a grown up, to be honest. But they it's a tough old world for them. Tough old world for them. So
Yeah.
you
So
know
we wish both of
that.
them
I
well.
mean, I can be. I know I can be quite biting about people, but I would never put it in print. I would never ever the vitriol that people write, because once you read it, it always reads worse than if anybody says anything, and if it's written, you can't answer back, and even then, I wouldn't. I mean, I thought Owen Farrell was an idiot for letting the clock run down against Samoa. Made me very cross. But that doesn't mean to say that I think should take a contract out on him. It's
No, no, and players make mistakes. We're human after all.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
the same thing
We
happened at
all
the
make
Gardens
mistakes.
with. Yeah, it's easily done. It's easily done.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
yeah,
mean anybody can abuse anybody. So rugby I think needs to look at itself in the mirror as a community and think on, because if we don't have referees,
yeah.
if we don't have players, we ain't got sport.
No,
So
no.
yeah, time to think on. Anyway,
Yeah,
Walking Rugby.
yeah.
How was it for you, Mrs. Saunders?
Well, it was my grandson Harry had given me the advice of it's very difficult, Granny, not to break into a run, which I thought wasn't actually going to be an issue for me. I didn't think, but surprisingly, it was. It was quite hard to keep walking when you just want to actually break into a trot. So no galloping, a little bit of trotting. Maybe from some people there was
Mm-hmm.
definitely cantering, but yeah, it was great. It was tremendous fun, and as your husband rightly said, it's amazing because you're walking and chucking a ball around. Why would you ache afterwards? But you know, reawakened muscles
Mm,
that had long been
yes.
asleep. God, we go, what are you
What are you
doing?
doing to
So,
me?
but it was,
Yes.
yeah, it was
So
thoroughly
will you be
enjoyable.
going back for round two?
Yeah, going back on Thursday. I will be strapping my knee
Excellent.
because my knee decided that it was less than happy. So that swelled up a bit over the weekend, but I'll be strapping that up and getting back on and seeing. It was tremendous fun, and I always think I'm not competitive until I get on a sports pitch, and then I realise, right, no, we're going to take it
Yes, you are.
seriously.
I've
Yes,
played
it's
golf
great
with you.
fun,
I
but
know you're competitive.
yeah.
Yes. So,
But
so Dr.
it was
Jones,
fun.
unfortunately, excellent. So Dr. Jones couldn't play in his second because they called it off because of the weather.
Oh,
But he's itching to get back out there so his muscles can be reawakened again.
yes.
And yeah, it's everybody seems to be well up for it. So well done to Jamie Higgins and the community department for
Jamie,
putting that
yeah,
on. Everybody seems
yeah,
to have enjoyed themselves who went. So I look forward to
yes.
hearing more reports from Walking Rugby, because the more we can be
And
active
if anybody,
and keep people
I was
interested
going
in
to say,
the
if
sport, the
anybody's
better.
thinking it's not for them, I was going to say, it is for everybody. I mean, it's people who've never played any sport before. I mean, I'd only ever played hockey. I only ever play sport with a weapon, and well, you don't have that. So it is tremendous fun, and and that was just a taster session, and but you can dip in and out. Don't feel it's got to be a weekly commitment. Just come along and have a laugh and reawaken muscles you'd forgotten you'd got. So brilliant.
Gotta be good.
Oh,
And you get to see the high performance centre.
And the
Tea and
Performance
coffee and
Centre.
biscuits. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh well, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
It's even better. Even better.
And
I don't think Dr.
there
Jones
were-
got tea and coffee and biscuits, so I won't mention
well, it's
that.
not with the right team, you see. Gotta get. There were custard creams and bourbons and ginger nuts.
Custard creams and bourbons. Oh,
And ginger nuts.
well, there you
And
go.
not
Even I might be
older
tempted.
cheap ones either. Yeah, there weren't even older cheap ones. They weren't Waitrose, but
But they were good quality
They were worth
Tesco,
it.
Sainsbury variety. Excellent.
Biscuit for
Well,
a
top
biscuit,
work,
I would.
everybody. Top work.
yeah.
Excellent. So on to this weekend, which is going to be
Glasgow.
huge in lots of ways. We're heading to Scotstoun, to Glasgow.
Yeah.
I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to it. Actually, that did come up this weekend. There was a discussion about pies.
Oh right,
So,
yes.
well done to Saracens. Your pies in the press room went down very well because they are very good. I didn't have one. I just witnessed lots of very happy people munching them. But warrior pies, Dr. Jones reminded me, are well up there as well.
Oh good.
It is some time since we've been, so maybe they're not. But
Yes.
I know Dr. T is looking forward to his beer and warrior pie after the game. So there you go.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just looking. It'd be nice to go. It's nice to go to Scotstoun. It's a weird ground because, interestingly, I'm on a WhatsApp group with some other Premiership rugby people, and one of the women on there was saying she loves Glasgow as a place, but did not have a positive experience of being at the ground. And I have to say that when we went, there were some very combative people around in the stands, and when we were there, if we'd have won, I don't even know if we would have gone through, but they were all chanting, "Oh, you're not going through," or something, which was ironic because neither were they. It was all very strange, and little kids gesticulating at the coach, I thought was just a bit strange, really. However, we'll go and give it another go.
Well, so we've had
Yeah.
mixed results there. I think there are a couple of things that stand out for me. There was Alex Waller trying to punch somebody in a ruck without being noticed,
Was that one?
but failing miserably because he'd forgotten that even if the referee can't see it, it's likely that the assistant referee is going to be watching. And lo and behold, yes, he was, and off trotted Alex to the bin.
Yeah.
So that was pretty early on in Alex's career, and I don't think we won that game. And then, of course, there's Paul Hill's debut. Now, I don't know whether it was his European debut or whether it was his debut. But again, the same Alex Waller and Jamie Elliott played an absolute blinder because Paul decided to thank the supporters for their support. And they did the hanging back. So he's doing the sea lion impression to the crowd. And they just let him go off on his own. They're all just stood there watching him, much to hilarity of all involved. So, yes. And he didn't notice being Paul. But, so we did win that game. That's when Ace Tuala scored an excellent try, I seem to recall. Yeah. The one you remember?
Yes. The one I was at, where they were all chanting about you're not going through, and it was when it was bitterly cold and it was snowing, and we had to try and outpace the snow going up the M6 in the coach. And Callum Clark injured his shoulder quite badly in that game as well. So it was all,
yes, I do remember that game.
Was when it was.
Yes, I do remember that game. Yeah, we flew.
Very cold.
We got the last plane last plane back into Gatwick before they closed Gatwick. They shut Glasgow behind us, and they shut Gatwick shortly afterwards. Yeah.
So we went up by the club put on a coach, luxury coach. It was a very luxurious coach. I was surprised how comfortable it was. And we went up the day before and stayed in Glasgow, and then left immediately after the game and came back down. But it was so really, really cold, and that's right. And then part of the deal of going on the coach was you could buy the winter kit, which was a fleecy blanket and gloves and a hat and a scarf or something at a really reasonable price. So I said, I'll get one of those. And I said to my husband, do you want one as well? And he said, no, I'll be fine. And then went, you're so lucky you've got a fleecy blanket to keep you warm. Well, not really. That doesn't really come into it, does it? Forward planning and spending money is what came into it. So you can, those of you who know my husband will understand this completely. And, can I share your blanket?
But the ground has changed, hasn't it?
Yes.
Blanket stories we've known. Because the ground's changed. It's changed now because, of course, they've got a plastic pitch. They've got a plastic pitch. So, because it was a rather boggy, muddy pitch, and it's now a plastic pitch. So that'll be. So that's the second weekend running. Well, if we're going to play like we did on Saturday,
well, I think we might have to. Do we know poor old Alex Coles? What happened to? I mean, that looked horrible, but.
Or Chunya.
Injury.
We don't know what happened to Chunya. Was showing concussion symptoms, so Shepherds crooked him at half time. Yes. Brought Tamo on, and Alex. I don't know. I did see both of them in the changing room afterwards, but I have no idea what the plot is there.
I think Chunya shows so much promise. I am always impressed with that young man's his work rate, his work ethic. He's just, to me, I think he can learn so much from and will learn so much from this season with Courtney. It's very excited about that young man's prospects. I think. Because again, he's ridiculously young. Isn't he?
I think it's going to be. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's another one in his early 20s. Yeah, ridiculous. Yes. Yeah. 21, 22. 28. Yeah. But playing well above his years again. And for some of them, it'll be their first trip to Scotland to play rugby. Angus Scott Young. But I think it will be. I think all of them want to have a good run this time. We had a pretty miserable, torrid time in the Champions Cup the last couple of seasons, and I think they want to make
last year we went to La Rochelle first off, didn't we?
I know. And, it would be nice to start at home, but we've had this conversation. We went to La Rochelle, and I had a fun and games with the security people. Bizarre. And ended up walking miles back into town because the traffic was so awful. And they stopped the buses at 8 o'clock, just at the point of kick.
They did. Yeah.
Kick-off.
And we stood on the terrace with Ian Vassell's dad, it turned out. That was fun.
Yes. Watching our defence. Oh, yeah, we won't go there. Wasn't one of our better evenings.
But apart from that, it was a cracking weekend. And I have to say, when we were awarded a penalty in the second half, we were joyous, and the La Rochelle fans were so amused because we went, well, we just got to celebrate where we can. And then they were celebrating with us every little win. They thought that we were, so we met some lovely people on that terrace.
Yes.
It was grand.
It was a fabulous trip, and La Rochelle is a wonderful place to go to. I hope Tigers enjoy it.
On this WhatsApp group, we've got all these people going, we're going to Bordeaux. Oh, that's nice. We're going to Toulon and Bayonne. Oh, great. Well done you. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Exeter, that'll be, yes.
We're saving a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
We go to Glasgow. Hey! Oh, no, I do. and Limerick, yes. Yes, in January. We've been there before.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
hope we put in a good display. I mean, Glasgow are flying at the moment. Yes, they lost over the weekend, but they rested a number of their players, and their home performances have been quite scary. So it will be really interesting to see this invigorated Saints side, see where they go next, because it's going to be a huge ask to go to Scotstoun. But
Yeah.
if they put their game out there, who knows? Yeah, it'll be fascinating, and I know they're well up for it. I mean, they always are, to be fair. But it will be interesting to see how they get on in the first one, and then we come back.
I was having got
one,
the away win done so well on Saturday, because we were beginning to look like a French side. So having actually got that monkey off our back with such a place to go and win as well as Stonex will have given them a swagger, a confidence to actually and a belief that we can do it. Whereas I felt last season we just went into those European games cowed almost before we started, especially down to La Rochelle. It was like we don't know what we're doing.
And I think that you're absolutely spot on. I think that will be the big difference, because it was quite clear on Saturday at the Stonex. They went there, expecting to have a great game, to put their game out there.
Yeah.
They were clearly sore over what they did last season. The semi-final was spoken about. I actually think, and I have no evidence to prove it, I actually think the loss in the league was the thing that really wound them up, which was, they went 20 odd points ahead and somehow managed to, mess it up.
Yeah.
And that really hurt them. So to go out there, put in a stonking defensive performance, score 2 lovely tries, I think that you're absolutely spot on. I think they'll go into this weekend in a much better frame of mind. It's about their game.
Yeah.
It's about us creating stuff. Glasgow will not have played us. We haven't played them. So this is the joy of European games, is that we haven't played them. You can't quite say the same thing with Munster, because we have, and they are the champions. So that one is going to be another tough ask. But yeah, I have high hopes of what we're going to do against Toulon. I think there's a few lads, as we've said before, who got a point through. But I actually think this weekend is going to be fascinating to see if we can go away again and put out a performance, because it's going to be interesting. New sponsor with Investec.
Oh yes.
So the French haven't got the problem with the alcohol advertising anymore. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. The H Cup and all that nonsense. So I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a cracking game. Glasgow play, from what I've seen, which is quite limited, they play quite an open game as well. So you've got 2 rugby playing teams going at each other, which should make for a good evening of rugby.
Evening, yeah. It's Friday Night Lights again, isn't it? Which we love, even if it's not down the garden.
Which we love.
Friday Night Lights.
Even if it's not down the garden, yeah. And having experienced Scotstoun Lights, going with my miner's helmet and lamp, because actually, that fair dues to Saracens. I noticed there was one corner where nobody sits, and when I talked to the photographers about it, it's because it's so dark. But actually, the lights at the Stonex are vastly improved. This new stand that they've built, they put some massive lighting, and it has made a really, really big difference. Very atmospheric, of course, because it was quite cold and lots of foggy, wintry, wet photographs, but they vastly improved. So I'm hoping that Glasgow have spent some money and their lights are much improved, because the last time I was there it was like the photography by candlelight. which is a bit boring because you just end up with lots of nasty
Well,
shadows.
one of the things I'm looking forward to is we're
And-
going by train, and I love travelling by train. So I'm looking forward to sitting there, just getting my book, sitting and reading my book, and
Ooh,
we're not
lucky you!
first
No,
class,
we are travelling.
we'll have to go to the
You're in
buffet
with the
car to
Great
get tea and
Unwashed, are
coffee,
you?
but yeah, we're not quite.
No.
We're in a we're way between that, so it's in a. We paid a bit extra to go in like the first class compartment, but you don't have all the food and drink, so you have to go.
Okay.
That, bit more space. Yeah. So that will be exciting.
Very nice. Well, the Joneses are travelling by car with all my kit. So we will be travelling up on the M6, the joys of the M6, M74, all the way north.
When are you going on Friday?
No, Thursday. Hopefully, that means I can get to the team run at the stadium on Thursday, and then obviously the game is on Friday evening, and then coming all the way back again on Saturday. Hopefully to get home in time to watch the Lightning game.
The M6
TV.
on a Friday is just hell, isn't it? Let's face it. The M6 on a Friday.
Yeah, hence why
anytime
an early start on Thursday.
Yeah,
an early start on Thursday. Hopefully, we'll be there in plenty of time for the team run at the stadium, which gives me a chance to see the lie of the land, see how good the lights are or not, and work out a few things. So yeah, and of course we'll have the same thing at Limerick because unlike last year, which was mostly in daylight, this year is very much a night game. So it'll be a bit gloomy
it was mostly in daylight,
January.
But it did have rain and hail coming in sideways as we walked to the ground in Limerick.
Tell me about it. I was sat in it. Yes, I even took photographs of the rainbows. Yeah, it was very wet and I was very cold. And again, the traffic was so awful that we ended up walking back into the city, which isn't much for a walk, but when you've got loads of bloody gear, it's a load of old faff. Yeah. So this year we are prepared. We're walking back into the city on our way back. We're not even going to attempt to try and get on a bus because basically we were walking faster than anybody was making progress in a car or on a bus. So we got back into the city, but it's a fair old hike when you've got a lot of camera gear. So but hopefully that'll be a good trip too. I'm looking forward to that one. And then we're on to Gloucester.
I was just saying, but
with the robots.
There's the restaurant with the robots.
Yes, there is the restaurant with the robot. At the moment, no, we've got. I can't remember. We've booked somewhere. I can't remember where. The robots aren't featuring at the moment. No, we have booked. But I can't remember where. I think we wanted to try somewhere different for a change. Varieties of spice of life. But those robots were great fun. And then after Glasgow, we're straight back into another game against Toulon, which we just talked about. And then the last game before Christmas will be Gloucester. And again, it's all happening at Gloucester, isn't it?
Isn't it though? Isn't it? I did.
Alex Brown, the new CEO, writing letters to the supporters.
I did say to my husband, this time last year, there were people saying on X, formerly Twitter, things like, why can't we have a DOR like George Skivington? Why, Dowse is out of his depth. That aged well then. Where are they now?
Where are they now? So again, it'll be interesting to see how Gloucester go in Europe. Yeah, very friendly, very approachable.
keep George Skivington till after we don't want a new coach and the bounce back.
You're
Vicky
ruthless.
Keatington.
You're ruthless, Mrs. Saunders.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, so I shall see you in Glasgow next. After you've got the pantomime tomorrow, haven't you?
Pantomime tomorrow.
The players' panto?
And sorry, the players' panto.
Yes.
Always interesting. See what Beef has come up with, and you'll take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and you'll be in Scotland
and
before
we'll
me.
see you in. Indeed. Only just, and we'll be back next week with a review of Europe and the next games for Bedford and Lightning. So thank you. That was episode 4 of the Ladies What.
Lovely.
Have a good one.
Thank you very much, those of us who've stuck with us so far. Wow.
Yes, thank you. Do subscribe. It helps us and spread the word.
Yes.
Bye.